like forgiving others and forgiving yourself? Like what changed? Like why is it significant? And
Well, significant for me because I don't have secrets. So, I mean, I shared a story earlier that's pretty disturbing. And I mean, I could have share a lot of other disturbing stories. For some reason, a lot to do with animals, which is kind of that in itself is concerning. Um, but yeah, I just think
do you remember like doing your like
forgiveness exercises. Yeah.
yeah for the
Yeah.
first
And I
time?
still am.
Yeah,
Well,
but like first time and
if you
like
do
letting go.
life, people are gonna disappoint you and hurt you. Like if you're involved in and I think that's where I think that's something special when you have figured out what the process is of actually letting go. There again, everyone in theory in their mind can understand forgiveness, but to experience it is completely different.
Yeah.
And so what typically happens when you've really experienced forgiveness is what comes instead of anger, there's sadness,
Yeah.
right? It's for ourselves, forgiving ourselves. There again, people would be struggle with that theology. They'd be like, well, "What do you mean forgive yourselves?" But it's accepting
The forgiveness God has given
forgiveness
you.
of God has given you if
Yeah.
you repent of your sin, right?
Yeah.
And then on the flip side with others, it's just allowing God to be. It's exactly what His Word says. Like vengeance is mine. He is the judge, and He will deal with all sin. We do not.
Yeah.
We're not qualified to deal with it. But there again, in our minds, we think we know what justice is. We think we know what fairness is. And so for me, it's been an experience of, hey, if something goes amiss in something in my life, first of all, what I've realized is that often I'm partially to blame or even more to blame, depending on the situation. So I think once you can clearly look, once you write things down and you really process it in a healthy way with wise counsel, which there again, people don't do that, right? They gossip about the situation, they talk about it. Mostly they internalize it. My experience in life was just having weird thoughts about people that I was angry at and just playing the tape over and over. Well, I typically like when you play the tape over and over, it changes. And I've had
Yes.
it, like eventually you have some situation in your mind where you're approaching sainthood, the other person's the villain,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's usually not that black and white.
Yeah.
It's usually obviously we're hurt and people do
Yeah.
wrong us, but
Or we start hating ourselves more and more.
yeah, and it's a really vicious cycle, right? So my experience has been a lot of freedom, a lot of like just when with the practicing forgiveness that I have been able to do has allowed me obviously to be a bit more gracious with myself. Still really struggle with that. I
Yeah.
feel like just the idea of like got to do better is always there.
Yeah, I
But
mean, it's radically changed my life. Forgiveness, forgiving others, and forgiving myself. Like even just in practical ways of how quickly I get annoyed at my kids when they're doing something wrong. Like I used to just like bite my lip hard, and like just like the smallest things would set me off, and that's almost negligible in my life now.
yeah, that's
And I think
impressive.
it's a big part to forgiving the people that had hurt me super super badly, and forgiving myself. And it's wild because you're just so much more free and happy and just peaceful.
I'm
Um,
having a flashback to this morning where I was really angry. So maybe I probably got quite a bit more work to do, I think. Shoot.
but also, I think it's important to remember that forgiveness is an action. It's a choice, right? It's like you're actually doing something. It's not like just like okay, I forgive. No, and that's why Freedom Session is powerful because it gives you the practical things of just like
The
writing down the
steps, yeah.
ways you've been hurt and going through forgiveness prayer of like saying the words out loud. I forgive this person for doing X, Y, Z, and we rarely want to. But it's a choice, just like going to the gym. Like rarely do we want to do that, but it's a choice we make to do or not to do. But often we can. I've heard people talk about forgiveness as in like, well, I just can't seem to do it. What do you mean? What does that mean? You can't seem to do it? Like you can talk out loud, right? I mean, it's so.
You also can take stuff back. And that's the part that people would be
Mm,
like, well, I've forgiven them. You know, it's like, well, yeah, maybe you did at a point, right? Maybe your heart was a bit softer, but we can totally change. We can grab all kinds of crap from the past back, and
yeah,
especially when we're repeatedly wronged, and which typically happens. So we're often wronged by the same people over and over. That's just the way life is, whether it be a family member or somebody in a position of power over us, or
yeah,
a boss or whoever, right? It could be anybody. We could just be habitually wronged by
yeah.
somebody, and so then we may need to do it a lot.
Have
And
you
then
ever?
the other thing is that, and this is the other part that we learn in our journey we're on, it's like, hey, there's boundaries, and we learn to put up healthy boundaries, and
Yeah,
we learn that to forgive doesn't mean we forget. It doesn't mean that
can trust right away.
doesn't mean that
Yeah.
we're doormats, doesn't mean that we make foolish decisions, and exactly trust right
If
away,
anything, you
right?
probably
So
become less of a doormat when you do forgive because you start to have some self-respect,
totally.
and
And you start to realize that, hey, this is,
not okay to
and
be
you
treated
just,
this way.
once you're enlightened, you just start to see it clearly. And it's like, hey, we're not going to pack our bags and go on this guilt trip again. We're not going to, just these types of things that happen with, especially with family, right? Because family is a powerful thing. Yeah. And people pull out the family card in the sense of like, hey, you're my kid, like respect me, honor me.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, but that doesn't mean be treated like crap repeatedly or whatever.
Control
right?
or whatever.
Totally control or doesn't mean you have to do everything that when you're a young adult, you don't have to do everything your parents want you to do anymore. That's just not the way life, that's not what we're called to do, right?
Usually parents that are doing that haven't forgiven themselves, and are angry at themselves for their failures and are trying to hold on to everything, last little thing they got. Have you ever been forgiven by somebody and like they told you, hey, Gary, I forgive you that you did this to me? And like in a big thing?
My wife's a very forgiving person to me.
I was just going to talk about with Nicole too, for the things that she's forgiven me for, but actually to hear those words from her and her describing that was, I mean, it's obviously super big from God, and forgiving yourself, I think, is really important as well. But just from another human on something big was just super, super powerful to hear and be let go of that. And I think it's
and if you've never heard that, if you're listening now and you're like, that's something I've never heard, probably not repenting and asking for forgiveness enough from people. Yeah. And it's something that's hard to do, even for me. It's just like to actually lay it out and say, hey, I did this. So what I used to do is
do you want to ask for forgiveness, or do you just want to confess that you own?
You wouldn't ask for forgiveness, but you would just repent, right? And I think the idea of like something I did a lot in my life was I thought I was saying sorry to my wife, but it wasn't a proper apology. It wasn't like naming the sin. It wasn't like saying, hey, this is what I did to you. This is how it would have affected you. It was very much like, let's keep this as,
vague as possible.
I'm going to do the blanket apology here. Yeah. Just call myself a name rather than say, hey, no, it's not about me. It's about you. This is how I've broken trust. This is how and I think that when we do that, as a general rule, people do, it's humbling, right? But it's also beautiful. And then like, it's that whole thing where it's like conflict is the pathway to intimacy. And once the rub is there, I had this experience in the last 24 hours. It's like a bit of just an awkward conversation. It led to like closeness, right? Which is super special. So
yeah, it's awesome. Okay. So, in our, church right now, the pastor is, and pastoral team is going through a series of, hey guys, if you enjoy that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.